there's yet another update in my perspective when it comes to Hedera. Now, nothing I say is financial advice, and no, it's not only just about HBAR being at around 13 cents, which it clearly is, but there's more to this because my perspective is that I saw not too long ago when it comes to Hedera, they made this post saying how Hedera has over 9 million accounts on mainnet. I mean, some people like to say, that doesn't matter, who cares? Well, I care. You know, I guess at a time like this when things are literally looking so boring, at least personally in my perspective, I guess this is all I can look at, right? And stuff like this, I guess, when there's updates and kind of news coming out when it comes to Hedera. But I think something like this kind of showcases how, when it comes to HBAR, is it really like done? Sometimes you like to say, oh, HBAR is done and all this type of stuff. Keep in mind, HBAR is still ranked 22nd in the world within this space, right? In terms of market cap. So we're not talking about a project that kind of went down to like the 200th ranking or something like that. That doesn't seem to be the case at all, actually, as of right now, despite HBAR being at around 13 cents. Now, being at around 13 cents, though, in my perspective, sure, I mean, it's not like that good, I guess, when compared to around 34 cents not too long ago, like even back in January. So that wasn't even a year ago. But I'm saying, I remember holding HBAR around 5 cents and all this, and the sentiment back then was not as even hypothetically good as right now, you know? Now, granted, at that moment in time, like the drastic pullback when it comes to HBAR happened like, back at 2021, also to a certain extent 2022. So there was like a moment where there was no significant pullback like that. So the sentiment overall, even though it wasn't arguably as dynamic as right now, there was no this kind of like feeling where, oh wow, something just had a pullback. Like the last time at that moment, like back in 2024, we saw a significant pullback was around like 2 years ago from that point, right? But then as of right now, we're literally seeing an actual pullback when it comes to HBAR. So I guess the feeling may be a little bit different. And I can feel that actually. But what can I do about it, right? To me, I don't have to believe in this. And even if someone told me to, I don't have to, right? I mean, personally, I am just doing it on my own, I guess. Like, not on my own, only me. I mean, of course, right? There's a bunch of holders when it comes to this, but I'm saying, in terms of like personally, I am making the decision by myself. At the end of the day, I mean, when I believe in a project, I'm making that decision, right? Whether it becomes okay or not, like, I can't control that. It's just me, like, believing in something, I guess. That's all I can do. But the reason why I have not kind of fully just gave up when it comes to something like Hedera is because when I take a look at just the landscape of the space as of right now, seeing a lot of projects out there use traditional blockchain technology, which don't get me wrong, like I came into this space believing in projects like that, right? Like my intention to go into this space isn't to believe in a directed acyclic graph, which Hedera hash graph is, by the way, but I'm saying it doesn't use like traditional blockchain technology. That's how I like to call it. This is more so something I learned along the way. So there was no way I could have believed in this space just because of that. But the more I looked into it, the more I was like, that seems pretty interesting because like it's taking quite essentially a little bit of a different approach, right? Some other projects out there, they're like, oh, we're going to be this blockchain, right? We're going to be this layer 1 blockchain and all this. We're going to be this layer 2 blockchain, this layer 0 blockchain, this layer 3 blockchain. But how about something like a directed acyclic graph? It's a little bit different. And we've seen kind of the trends sometimes when it comes to, especially back in 2021, and even to a certain extent right now. Like back then we saw, layer zeros, like for instance, in the case of Polkadot, that was a pretty big narrative. And then we saw layer 1 blockchains like Cardano, like Ethereum, like Solana, right? We take a look at layer 2s, even as of right now. To a certain extent, like Optimism is still pretty popular, something like Arbitrum, something like also we take a look at, in the case of Base, which is Coinbase's layer 2. And even if we take a look back, like back in 2021, let's say, we take a look at layer 2s being also a pretty big narrative, especially in the case of Polygon. But then the thing is, when it comes to right now, people are talking about layer 3s and whatnot. But in my perspective, a directed acyclic graph, sometimes from what I realized from those instances, is that sometimes people want to look for something cool. Like, for instance, a layer 0, a layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, some people out there that I know that believe in projects like that, they don't necessarily know the difference. But then it just sounds cool. Like, oh wow, it's a layer 0, and then there's a layer 1. Oh, there's a layer 2. Oh, there's a layer 3. You know, just because of that differentiation, sometimes a lot of my friends, just because of that, they just believe in the project. Which, I mean, it is what it is, but sometimes it showcases that the new cool thing seems to be sometimes a little bit of a focus. Could that be the case here? I cannot control that. I mean, I have no way to do that, right? But at the same time, a directed acyclic graph, it is a little bit different to a lot of other projects out there. So this is why I'm still a fan. I just haven't given up. But basically, when I take a look at HBAR, people like to say, well, it's looking boring. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do find it actually very boring currently, but what can I do? I mean, sure, it's still around 23 times lower than $3, but I'm just gonna do what I've been doing throughout this whole time. I am literally just dollar cost averaging per month, right? Like once a month, basically. I don't do any more than that. I don't do any less than that either. However, that in and of itself seems a little bit boring. But then this is what I do, because if I realize that I literally have zero control over whatever goes on, why would I focus on trying to control things that are not within my control? Like if I'm just taking a look at literally only the price chart when it comes to HBAR, I'm taking a look at what happens every 5 minutes or 10 minutes. How can I even control that? Like there's literally no way I could do that. So I just like to zoom out. I just like to take a look at, in the grand scheme of things, historically, what has HBAR done. I take a look at what it kind of did even without an altcoin season, reaching over 30 cents not too long ago. Again, less than a year ago, basically. And that was without an altcoin season. So I'm going to be waiting. That's it. I guess that's all I can do. Now, some of my friends out there, they don't want to wait anymore. And, look, right? I can't control anyone. Like, I can only control myself, but I personally am choosing to wait. Like, for instance, this is my point of view. Like, do I have to use a G-Shock, which I am using as of right now, like a Casio? No, I mean, clearly, a lot of my friends out there, they don't use that, right? I mean, some of them out there don't use watches, some of them use an Apple Watch, some of them use the Google Watch, some of them use the, how do I call it? Yeah, like a mechanical watch. Yeah, what am I saying? But besides that, so personally, I am doing this voluntarily, much like I am looking at HBAR voluntarily and believing in it. That's what I'm doing personally. If someone told me, oh, Hedera is this, Hedera is that, at the end of the day, I'm making the decision myself. Like, I don't have to do this, right? I mean, I don't have to wait for Hedera, but I am waiting anyways. Which, I mean, some people like to say, why? Well, I haven't seen an altcoin season, so I'm going to still stay patient. Why even wait for an altcoin season, in my perspective? Because I feel like waiting for an altcoin season, I guess. I mean, that's all I'm doing, right? Now, also on top of that as well, people like to say, well, Hedera doesn't have kind of the notoriety to really stand out. Well, to me, if let's say it's very different from the rest of the competition, quite essentially in some cases, do I want to think that, oh yeah, it can't really stand out? Well, literally, fundamentally, in some cases, it literally, again, right, does not use what some other projects use in terms of traditional blockchain technology. So I just haven't given up when it comes to this. But nonetheless, this is a video on my thoughts when it comes to Hedera as of right now. I'm going to still stay patient and just wait it out. That's pretty much about it. I want to say thank you for watching. I hope y'all have a nice day. It's only the captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.